Okay, Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Hi everyone, thank you for being here today. I'm honored to present our leadership project, a student-centered innovation called the Smart Box, short for Strategic Media for Active Reading and Thinking. This project was born from our experience at SMA Mumbulsari during our teaching practicum, where we saw firsthand how students struggled with English literacy, not just reading or writing, but also with speaking confidently and engaging with the content. And here we begin by observing classrooms and listening to students and teachers. What we found was a pattern. English lessons often felt monotonous, rigid, and disconnected from students' real lives. And even worse, students with different learning styles, especially kinesthetic or visual learners, were being unintentionally excluded from engaging fully. In this sense, we were not just facing a pedagogical issue, but a problem of equity and inclusiveness in learning. We mapped this as our discover phase in the design thinking process. So, from these insights, we identified a key design challenge. We asked ourselves, how might we create an English learning experience that motivates students and supports various learning styles using contextual and enjoyable media? And this became the guiding question. Our how might we for the rest of the project. And in the develop phase, which is ideating and prototyping Smartbox, we brainstorm ideas from story cards to board games, then converge on the idea of a literacy box. It would be physical, tangible, and easy to replicate, and adaptable to various class themes. And so the Smartbox was born. Each book contains narrative text rooted in students' everyday lives, activity cards for writing and reading tasks, miniatures and figures that present the story element, puzzle games to engage their logic and vocabulary, and also critical thinking prompts to spark class discussion. And we made a prototype using simple materials such as recycled cardboard, printed text, handmade visuals, keeping it cost effective and easy for teachers to adopt. So we test the prototype in real classrooms and the results were uplifting. One student said, "It feels like we are playing, not studying." And another also shared that I want to speak English more now because it is fun thanks to this smart box. And teachers also praised it. They appreciated that it didn't rely on screens or Wi-Fi, but still supported 21st century skills like collaboration and communication. And their feedback helped us improve the design further, adjusting reading levels, adding rubrics, and refining the visual components. Okay, so now let me now walk you through the impact targets of the Smartbox project. First, we focus on increasing students' motivation to read, and to measure this, we compare students' responses before and after the lesson using short surveys. And the target here was not a number, but a noticeable shift in their attitude. We wanted to see students showing more interest and enthusiasm in reading activities, especially with English text. And second, we look at the improvement in students' English skills. And to observe this, we use both formative and summative assessments. These include tests and like speaking practice, reading comprehension, and writing short text. And the goal was for students to demonstrate real progress in using English actively, whether in speaking, writing, or understanding. And lastly, I paid attention to how useful and enjoyable the media was from the students' perspective. I gathered feedback through reflections and short discussion, and the aim was for most students to express that the smart box made learning feel more engaging, more meaningful, and simply more fun. So, in short, we weren't only trying to create a tool, we were measuring how it changed the learning experience for the better. So now, reflecting through the design thinking lens, This entire project followed the double diamond model. The first one, in the discover phase, we gather insights through observation and conversation. And then during the define phase, we clarified the real challenge, not just low literacy, but disconnected and exclusive teaching practices. Then we move into develop, where we generated ideas and built the smart box. And finally, in the deliver phase, I tested, reflected, and refined the solution based on real classroom use. We also followed the bootcamp bootleg approach from empathizing and defining to ideating, prototyping, and testing. Each stage helping me stay focused on what really matters, which is the students. Next, we move on to the transformation value of the smart box. So, beyond improving English skills, the smart box also delivers deeper transformational value in the classroom. First, it promotes equity in learning. Not all students learn the same way. Some need to move, some respond to visuals, and others are more auditory. So the smart box is designed to include all of them. It gives every learner, regardless of their style, a fair and engaging opportunity to grow. And second, it builds a culture of literacy that doesn't depend on screens or devices. This is especially important in rural schools like SMA and Mubusari, where access to digital tools can be limited. And the smart work proves that creative, meaningful learning can happen even with simple offline materials. And finally, it encourages student agency. By inviting students to explore, create, and express themselves through stories and tasks, they begin to take ownership of their learning. They become more confident in using English, not just because they have to, but because they want to. And in short, the smart box is more than just a tool. It is a step towards more inclusive, empowering, and joyful learning. And these are some of the documentation from Smartbox, our project. And in this slide, we are making in the process of making the Smartbox. And this is how our smart box looks like. In the first video, it's how our smart box looks like when it is being closed, and in the second one is how our smart box looks like when it is being opened. And these are some documentations from when we are implementing the smart box in classrooms. And so we have arrived at the conclusion and Smartbox as a design thinking outcome. So through the design thinking lens, Smartbox is not just a tool, it is a solution born from empathy, refined through iteration and designed for equity. We hope this become a replicable model for schools and especially in similar rural contexts. And that is the end of my presentation. Thank you for watching. Wassalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.